At this time, please help me make welcome founder of Action for Canada, Tanya Gaw.
Hi everyone, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. And Majed, thank you for numerous times tonight, the thanks for creating the Task Force for Israel, for the people that are part of this. Israel is so dear to my heart as a Christian. And so Majed, I promised I would stay within time tonight, so I'm gonna go straight and stick to my notes. I watched the video, Majed had sent it to me last night, or earlier today, I'm sorry, and I sat there and I watched it quietly. And the overwhelming feelings, being a mother and a grandmother, a sister, a daughter, and to know what Israel has gone through for so long since time began. The Jewish people, the anti-Semitism. I've been born and raised in Canada. My mom and dad were from England and from the Netherlands. They came through the war. We had family that was tortured. So I have a history in my heart because they passed that on to me. And in many ways, that's a gift because we never want to forget. It's very important. So to see what is happening in my Canada today breaks my heart. And I will help and be on the front line of this fight because we've always been a beacon of hope to the world. And if we don't turn around what's going on in our own soil, that light is going to go out. And I feel very confident because God is on our side that it will not. So we know why we're all here today, to commemorate the one-year anniversary and remembrance of the victims and those still being held hostage of the barbaric attack in Israel a year ago. There is so much misinformation out there regarding Israel and the war against Hamas due to mainstream media reporting the twisted versions of the facts, such as allegations that Israelis are the illegal occupiers. This is completely and historically false based on biblical evidence. Israel is God's land, the apple of his eye, and it belongs to the Jews. Jeremiah 31:35-36 clearly states that Israel was and is and will always be God's land. This is what the Lord says. He who appoints the sun to shine by day, who declares the moon and stars to shine by night, who stirs up the sea so that its waves roar. The Lord Almighty is his name. Only if these decrees vanish from my sight, declares the Lord, will Israel ever cease being a nation before me. Unfortunately, many Westerners do not know the history of Israel, and so they have bought into the lies and are quick to condemn Israel and their right to exist as a nation. It is critical that Canadians understand the significance of standing in solidarity with Israel as we battle against a common enemy. Islamic extremism poses a significant threat to the West. In a video presentation by Bill Werner, Center for the Study of Political Islam International, he provides the history of Islam in 1,400 years of their brutal conquests of Christians and Jews throughout the Middle East and Europe. And today, not much has changed. Since the horrific attack against innocent unarmed civilians in Israel on October 7th, Western nations have witnessed an increase in Islamic hate and violence, not only against the Jewish community, but also the general population. Terrorist supporters have brazenly flooded our streets, bringing their foreign conflict to our soil and threatening the safety and security of Canadians. The activation of these protests in the West after October 7th were not random, but by design. Violence, division, and chaos follow this so-called religion wherever it goes. The Muslim Brotherhood's explanatory memorandum is evidence of Islam's intentions. They want world domination, and they are patient and strategic in conquering foreign lands. They are working on entering every Western civilization to take over from within. And in their own words, the process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, Muslim Brotherhood, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers so that it is eliminated and God's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Countries throughout Europe and the UK are under threat of being taken over as a result of a stealth Islamic invasion, and Canada and the US are not far behind. The very core of our existence as nations, which are built on Judeo-Christian biblical principles and embedded in our laws, are being rejected and replaced with radical Islamic ideologies and Sharia law. Elections have been taking place throughout Europe and the UK, and so-called far-right parties have been successful in gaining seats and winning elections, such as in the Netherlands, Austria, France, and Germany. Their number one issue is immigration and preserving sovereignty. In Canada, immigration from countries who do not share our values has also become the number one concern due to Justin Trudeau's reckless and failed immigration policies. What is Trudeau's and the Liberal government's position on supporting Israel? At first, Canada came out strong, condemning the brutal terrorist attacks perpetrated by Hamas and its affiliates. But now, a year later, we have witnessed violent pro-Palestinian rallies on the streets, encampments at the schools, and aggressive protests around government buildings, and yet no serious actions have been taken to put a stop to it. A few weeks ago, we watched in dismay as Canada turned their back on Israel before the United Nations. The world leaders, in a recorded vote of 124 nations, with only 14 against and 43 abstentions, condemned Israel and called them to withdraw its military forces and other unreasonable and appalling demands. The world needs to understand that if Israel does withdraw, it would be their destruction, and that is not in God's plan. What has happened to the West condemning Hamas, who themselves have taken no steps to protect the Palestinians, but are instead using them as human shields? The Palestinians are suffering at the hands of this brutal regime. Billions of dollars in aid has been given and used to fund the attack against Israel and to raise up an unending supply of Islamic extremists as the PLO and UNRWA brainwash the Palestinian children to hate Jews and Westerners and be willing to blow themselves up for their cause. And yet, in spite of this, the Canadian government continues to fund UNRWA and has ping-ponged from condemning Hamas to denying Israel, but mostly condemning Israel. What is next? Jews are no longer safe in our schools and streets. Synagogues in Canada need to be guarded. Only 80 years ago, Allied forces from Canada freed Jews from concentration camps. People risked their lives to provide Jews with safety from the evil Nazis. Now Canada, led by Justin Trudeau, is following the world in turning their back against Israel. Jews long for peace, but never again is now. They must defend themselves. Golda Meir made a profound statement regarding the Arabs' deep hatred towards the Jews. When peace comes, we will perhaps in time be able to forgive the Arabs for killing our sons. But it will be harder for us to forgive them for having forced us to kill their sons. Peace will come when Arabs will love their children more than they hate us. It is time for Canadians to firmly pick a side. Israel has had to endure Islamic extremism for centuries, and we are getting only a small taste of what is to come if we do not support Israel and take a strong stand in Canada to put a stop to the Islamic extremism here and now. Today, we call on the people of Canada to stand with the Israelis, to stem the tide of anti-Semitism in our communities in the name of all things good and honorable and in the name of God. God said in Genesis 12:3 that he will bless the descendants of Abraham. The Jews, he will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you, and all the families of the earth will be blessed through you. By turning his back on Israel, Trudeau has brought a curse on Canada. But he does not speak for me. Israel has a right to exist. Israelis have a right to live free from fear of their enemies. And Canada and the world has a duty to uphold those rights. Thank you, and God bless you.